Hey everybody, Rob Hilditch here with Harding's Your Improvement Company, the painting company, and this is Brushstrokes of Success. Sorry, let me try that again. Brushstrokes of Success, a painter's podcast. Today I'm super excited to have with me our founder, Dalton Harding. How are you, sir?
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
Hang out
I'm
with you,
excited.
Rob.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it too. Throughout this series, we kind of have like all of our franchisees and partners in the company joining me.
Yeah,
We've done, this is going to just be our second one so far. Vicky and I did one just before Christmas just to work out the bugs, and it went really well. It was
yeah.
just so easy for her and I to talk back and forth. And I know it's super easy for you and I to do it. I guess the point today is just to kind of go, hey, what's Harding's? Like, where did Harding's come from? Obviously, your name, but really, like, what made you do it? What made you come up with it? And tell us a little bit about the beginnings in the garage in Midnapore.
Well, I went to university and I was painting through university in the student business, and took my MBA and realized I didn't really want to go back into the big corporate world. I was a small business guy, and I thought, I learned a ton from the student business, but if we could develop a system where we could keep customers for life and think about painters for life and keeping retention and doing good quality work and consistent and have a long-term vision to the product, that I think that would really take off and professionalize the residential painting business, because that's what we were focusing on.
And you certainly did that. Like when you look at when you started, like what, 1996, literally in your garage in Midnapore,
Yeah,
starting what I coined now as an illegal franchise system, where you were licensing different neighborhoods to different painters that you had hired.
yeah,
The infancy of the franchise system that we are today.
yeah,
But when you look at that, you had painters back in those days that are franchisees today.
yeah. Yeah, I think one of our keys was just, one of the philosophies was slow incremental growth. So I just started back on the brush.
Yep.
And hired a painter to work with me, and one of them's interestingly enough was Mike Holmes. We had our own Mike Holmes.
Yep, I remember that.
And funny story, he came in for an interview and he was late. So I told him, "You're late. I'm not interested. Go home."
Yeah.
And then I thought later, oh, I need this guy. So I said, well, why don't you come in? We'll paint together and we'll go from there. And he was just the greatest guy. He's painted with us for 25 years.
Yep.
So just that philosophy of quality, slow incremental growth, allowing the market to pull us rather than trying to push the industry.
Yep.
And just focus on quality and retention.
So the peace of mind solution that we had as our tagline for many, many years until I became involved. And so that's, I guess, when you look at the industry back then compared to what the industry is now, it was easy to fill those gaps with a peace of mind solution. I mean, you've been out of it for a bit. You've let me take the reins and run the company along with some of our other partners. Where would you see us doing next? Like we have the ditch the DIY. That's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to convince people to stop listening to Mike Holmes and stop doing their own renovations. Do you see the marketplace going the same way, or do you still think that there's a gap that we were missing with the peace of mind? Because we obviously still do that.
I think it's the same strategy. It's just doing really good quality work and creating win-win solutions. It's interesting, when I got into business before I started Harding's, the one thing I learned is, that people don't mind doing win-lose relationships.
Yep.
People take advantage of you if you let them. And I just believe that if we created win-win solutions, we always tell our painters it's customers that pay our bills. So our focus is on our customers. Good quality work is always profitable. And then we created good win-win solutions with painters. So we retained our good employees. And I think those two philosophies there's a lot of bucket painters out there.
Yeah.
but they're usually, some of them are great craftsmen, but they don't know how to run a business often, and
Yep.
so Harding's was all about running a good, solid marketing business, but also with really good people and focusing on the customer.
Yeah.
I think those philosophies are still the key to the business.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree. It's funny you talk about the people.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always said people come first, and our people are. I mean, we just had our holiday, Christmas party, whatever you want to call it, and I'm always just taken back by the people that we have in this business. Not only the shareholders and partners that we have, but the subcontractors and employees that we have. And we always take a little bit. I think this industry, anybody in the contracting industry, I think takes a little bit of flack when you hear the word subcontractor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't disagree with it from a client perspective. But it's not like people are calling us and we're going, okay, yeah, great, we'll take the work, and then just schlep it off to a different company or a different that's not how we operate. And one of the cool things about our subcontractor business that you've built this on was the fact that our subcontractors generally work exclusively for us, and stick with us for many, many, many years. And I don't see that with other companies. And so there's something special that you originally created that we've been able to emulate year after year on your behalf, I should say, and be able to keep these people because we've built that peace of mind and we built that loyalty, to the point where it's just super proud to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That makes sense.
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship was kind of in my blood. I grew up on a farm, and all my, even through university, all my jobs were based on merit. If you worked hard and you received the benefit from working hard and doing a good job.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like that's so that was always part of our business, and I think it created ownership, a feeling of ownership. It created a place for people to grow within the business. And as long as there's accountability, and we always said, you can't manage what you can't measure, that we kind of made sure we had measurements to focus on quality. And but I think it just created a sense of ownership and good relationships that we could all benefit from.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm cheating and looking at my notes, but you briefly touched on it as far as the ownership part of it.
Yeah.
So in 2011, you chose to, I don't know what the word is, relinquish, but you sold a majority of the company to the licensee at the time. And we went from one owner to multiple owners at that point in time, because the franchisees, kind of like a WestJet thing, the franchisees and licensees that we had bought in.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of them that bought in at that time. Yeah. So just the question there is, what made you think about doing that? And then I guess that's a proud accomplishment, to have so many people that were working for you as employees, and little different licensees having different neighborhoods. And we literally had guys like all over the place. We've conformed that now. But how'd that make you feel?
Yeah, that was well, it wasn't a last minute thing. It was a very planned thing. So these individuals that were working with me, that we had a relationship with as licensees, they, we would provide the name and the marketing and the administration and support systems, but they were running their own business.
Yeah.
And it was a great relationship. But I told them at a certain point, and we actually had a date, 2011. So it was done for a couple of reasons. One is, I think people leave unless they have opportunities to grow.
Yep.
Really good, ambitious, energetic, determined individuals. So I wanted to give them a chance to grow. And the painting industry doesn't have many barriers to entry.
No.
And so, it was a way to keep them and retain them and to build the business together, a win-win relationship.
Yep.
So 2011, but it was 7 owners and myself, and we each had a piece of the pie, and so that was a fun moment when I kind of decided to semi-retire,
Yeah.
start transitioning out of the business to allow these other individuals to have some ownership and
Yeah.
yeah.
You touched on a key point there that I find frustrating to deal with in our business today, franchising this business, and that's the barriers to entry. You would think that with low barriers to entry, and I'm talking low, like we can open a franchise in a new city for less than $50,000, generally speaking. It goes up from there if you have to buy a new vehicle or lease a new vehicle. Other than that, it's relatively cheap to get into. And as you know, the margins that we can see in this business, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to get into this business from restaurant franchising from where I was, is in restaurant franchising, you're dealing with 3 to 6% EBITDA, and you're working 70, 80 hours a week, and you're really busting your ass. You never see your family. Now with this business, I looked at it and I went, this is amazing when you consider what you could get into it for, to the margins and the sales that you can do. What would you tell incoming franchisees? What would be like your number one piece of advice to say, like, I know it sounds too good to be true, but I've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what would you say to them as they come in and, if they see this video somewhere on YouTube or wherever, what's your best piece of advice for someone to take that leap of faith?
Yeah, it's not a technical business, it's a service business. So if it's somebody that likes working with people, that's good at systems, I'm a little bit of a dog, if there's a good system and you work hard, boy, there's just lots of benefits. The business has just lots of advantages to it. But you need to enjoy working with people, and you need to enjoy logistics. And if you're good at that and you're able to manage your finances, you need to, if you're a person that spends every dime that you have in your pocket, don't get into this business. Because you move from an employee to an owner, and you have this cash flow, and you got to know how to manage that. So if those three things you're good at, and
it's the right fit.
It's a great fit.
I think too, to that point, is the other added benefit of this. And we've got seasoned professionals that are working for us now. We've got several franchisees that have been doing this for a long time, and don't need my assistance or our corporate finance, Vicky. I don't really need her assistance to that degree. But when you bring in new people, you've got the benefit of being able to talk to both of us on the business side and learn that, right? And our job is to train them on the logistics and the system side. So I think that's a huge benefit of doing a franchise these days, especially with us, is you've got the business acumen experience that Vicky and I can both show a new franchisee to help them through that. I've met so many contractors in the 7 years that I've been doing this with you guys now, that not involved with us, but just contractors in general throughout, the course of the day in your day-to-day business life, that think that if there's money in the bank, they've got money, and they don't even do a P&L or look at income statements or understand a balance sheet at all. And they're the guys that take, all your receipts to your accountant at the end of the year. So I think that's the benefit of being able to do this. And that's always been my biggest challenge, is trying to teach people. We're looking at bringing on a gentleman in Hamilton, Ontario right now. We're this close to finishing him off. And the bonus part of being able to approve him and award him a franchise so quickly is that he understood that.
Right.
And that's the piece that makes it so much easier for us to operate, because we can teach the painting side, because he doesn't have to paint. Right? Yeah. He's hiring the employees. He's hiring the subcontractors. He needs to understand the paint. He needs to know what a good quality paint job is compared to what one isn't, and be able to run his business and train his people properly. So that's the exciting part that I like. Is bringing on onboarding new people, and showing them everything that you've built from the beginning, and then what we've added to it, all these supplemental things that we've added to grow the business to the point where right now where we can say, hey, ditch the DIY, hire professionals instead. At the same time, the one line we come up with is that, thank you for inviting us into your home.
funny story. One of my painters, great guy, but
Sure.
just a little bit loud, liked to have fun. And so he was down painting in the basement, and he was singing away.
Yeah.
And I got to the job site, and this is one of the things you deal with as an owner.
Yeah.
Get to the job site, and the owner says, "I said, how things going? Oh, great. But can you tell your painter to be a little quieter? He's down singing in the basement."
Yeah.
So I had to go down and say to Mark, could
Yeah.
you just
Keep it
sing
down
a
a little
little
bit.
quieter.
Yeah. Keep it
You're
down
having
a
too
little
much
bit.
fun painting.
But I mean, it's a fun job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And clients, I mean, it's funny because as the president of the company, people are always surprised that I answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Vicky and I will both answer the phones, and I love doing it. If the phone rings, like we've got a policy here that it doesn't ring more than twice. If we're in the office and we're able to answer the phone, and Vicky knows that if it's 2 rings, it's her call.
Right.
Because I'm busy doing something. But other than that, first ring, I'm picking up.
Yeah.
And I love talking to them. So you can get feedback, so you can learn who your customers are. You learn to understand and better market them. But I'm one of those customers that doesn't like people in my home. And it has nothing to do with fear or everything else. I just don't like people in my house.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where the line came from, was thank you for inviting us to their home, because I think a lot of people do feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And whether COVID was the one that changed that or not, take the fear part of it out.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, that's interesting. It's an intrusion to your life, things like that. And I think that's one of the things that, you built, and I think that we continue to do, is that we really genuinely appreciate being called into a customer's home, and we genuinely appreciate doing the work for them, because that's where the satisfaction comes for us, is not only just a job well done, but seeing the smile on customers' faces when they like what we've done.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
I like that. It's a gratitude. It's a focus on the customer. I think I left the business at the exact right time, and I'm sort of an old school guy that I was really good at systems, really good at dealing with customers, but I'm not a technical person, and you are such a great fit for that. I mean, you have all the people skills and the logistics and managing finances, but you're really good at the modern day technology that's so important to running a business this day. And so I'm not that person. So I think I just left it in the right hands at the right time.
Appreciate that.
And I'm just seeing what everything Harding's is doing, and just really admiring all that technical
Thank you. Appreciate that.
prowess that you bring.
Yeah,
So.
no, I appreciate that. And I should mention, we missed a gap of 6 years in there where we had Attila Drascosi, who was the president of the company, who also did some tremendous things for our growth.
Yeah.
When you look at 2011, when you left, and I believe at that time you were going on another mission. Is that correct? So with that time when you left, you were gone for a couple of years. Attila, who had been with you for many years, steps into the president's role and then starts adding the new services. And so handyman, and now we have epoxy flooring as well. Back then we had cleaning and property maintenance. We've got the renovation division. It's just kind of cool to see that. Like, we've become a one-stop, thanks to him and doing all that, we've become like a one-stop shop for a lot of people. Now we've had some rescission on some of those ones that didn't quite fit what we were doing. And so now we've got the painting, texturing, handyman, the renovations, and the epoxy floor system, which were all kind of good fits to each other. There's a lot of synergies between them, where some of them they were not quite there for us yet. So didn't want to, leave him out, because he's done some great things for what we've done.
And Attila, when he was there, did some fabulous. I call him a power broker. I mean, he's really good at building relationships, really good at motivating people, and he did some, and he organized a shop and the spray booth, and so there was some real value added,
and still with us today as a shareholder and as a franchisee, and still killing it as a franchisee in sales and in growth. So it's cool that we're all being able to still move forward together and create this great company that you inspired. So business evolution, you're done. You've stepped away. You still serve what I'll call is our advisory council. And what's the legacy? What do you when you look back? You know.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's being proud of the things we were able to accomplish. I had an experience when I went on a mission for our church and left the business for a year, and I had a real fun experience when we were in the Maritimes, helping congregations there. One of the things I really wanted to do was ride the tidal bore while I was there. That was the one thing I really wanted to do. And the Bay of Fundy has one of the highest tides in the world.
Yeah.
And the water's going out, and the new tide comes in. It creates these huge waves.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting on this Zodiac boat with a motor on the back, and there's a bunch of other people. This company to advertise this. There's a bunch of other people in the boat. And of course I said, how are you? What's your name? And Dalton Harding, we got to know each other, and this couple says, "Oh, are you the painter?" and I found out they're lived in Woodbine.
Yep.
And
great neighborhood.
Corey Arsenal painted
Yep.
their house. He says Corey Arsenal was the team leader, did a great job, and I thought, isn't that the coolest thing to be able to another part of the world that you never expect to see anyone, and here's this couple from Woodbine telling you that you did a good job.
And that I love, and that might be the point that we end on, but that's a great story. And I have so many of them as well, not to the degree in that, but previous to becoming the president here, I was the vice president of development for the Joy's franchise group. So Joy's Seafood Restaurants, as you know.
Yeah.
16 years with them. And no knock on anything, because they have some great success, and they've continued. They've got some new management people in place, and they're exploding, and they're an awesome company. I still love those guys. Very good friends. So this isn't a knock on that at all, but there's a lot of Joey's in the world when it comes to the restaurant business. And so when people would say, "Hey, so what do you do? You're out at a party or whatever it may be. What do you do?" "Oh, I work for Joey's Restaurants." "Oh yeah, I love the one at Chinook Center." I'm like, "No, that's Joey Tomatoes."
Right.
Or Joey's Global or whatever it was called that week. And people would be like, "Oh, what one do you work with?" I'm like, "Oh, Joey's Seafood, the fish and chips guys, the most famous fish and chips in the world." And they just look at you and they go, "Oh, okay, great." Then I go see my parents, and they'd have some friends over, and they'd ask the same question. I'd say, "I work at Joey's," and they'd be like, "Oh, I love their fish and chips." Yeah. So it all depended on what demographic you were talking to. What I've loved about here, like from day one, the minute I started working for this company, and I changed my Facebook page and everything else. I remember when I changed my Facebook, I think it was my Facebook page to where I worked. I had multiple people go, "Oh, Harding's painted my house. Harding's painted my garage. Harding's did this. Harding did that. When did you start with them?" And I was like, for years, I was literally the brand ambassador for this previous company, and nobody knew who I worked for.
Right.
And when I started working for you guys, it was immediate. When I show Harding's now, people see it on my truck. When I wear the brand, they're every single time they go, "Oh yeah, so-and-so, Attila painted my house. Matt painted my house," whatever it may be. And it's just like so, I don't know what the word, not overwhelming, but it just fills my heart.
Yeah.
Because and that's not me doing it, right? That's before I even got here. That was everything that you guys had built and the marketing initiatives you had done previous. Everybody in the city knew us.
Mm-hmm.
It was super cool. Like I don't meet somebody these days that doesn't know who we are. They've all heard about us. So that's a testament to what you built and what the franchisees continue to grow. Right? I look at it and go, we're a marketing company. I look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
What I do every day is marketing. There's operational support for our franchisees, everything else, but it really is marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that's providing them the leads. They're the ones that are going out and being in front of the customer. I'm behind the scenes. Nobody really gets a chance to see who I am or know me, and that's great. This will change. This what we're doing now. But they're the face of the business, and they're the ones doing the hard work. And I've got nothing but respect for what they do and for what you've built. So I appreciate that, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
So what are you doing now?
Well, when you retire, you got to you got to have a purpose. So I do a lot of work in my own faith community, and I work with the Calgary Interfaith Council. So I very believe that the world needs more people that create bridges than walls.
Yep.
And there's a lot of polarization in our society. There's war going up, you know,
Yep.
and there's such a need for bringing people together in dialogue and in relationships, and that's what we try to do. I think it creates a healthier and more balanced, fights extremism.
Yeah.
Because extremism is on the rise in politics and religion, and you know, so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to build bridges and trying to give back to the community. So it's been really fun, and I play pickleball.
Well, I appreciate the time. I appreciate everything you've done for me over the course of my almost 7 years here, and continue to hopefully do as a mentor.
I've got one advice for business people. When I left on our mission to Halifax, I thought, what can I leave for these business folks? What do they need to hear, and what have I learned? And what I learned most importantly is being a businessman. It kind of feeds you, especially if you're successful. It can be really detrimental, and you really got to be careful. It can take over all your time. You can destroy your health. You can destroy your relationships, and so you really have to manage the business and not let it manage you.
Yeah.
And keep those things which are the priority, your relationships and your health and those things in balance with your business, and don't let ego take over. And that's my biggest piece of advice, other than just keeping sound business principles, the things that I already discussed.
Yeah, there's life balance. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we predicate this franchise system on, is that, we want you to go out and hustle.
Yeah.
But the reason you're doing it is so that you have the ability to retire at a somewhat early age with a pretty good nest egg, so that you can continue to live your life with that family, but also work with them and spend the time with them as you're doing your franchise. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about the job that I do.
Yeah.
You know, I can do it from anywhere. I don't have to be in the office here every day. You know, I can take off early on a Friday and forward the phone to my cell while I'm driving to the lake or something, or going to see my kid's game. And I can still deal with that business call if I have to, and take in a new lead from a client, or deal with a complaint, although there's very few of those.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, trying to figure out that work-life balance. And I think that's one of the things, again, you've built, and that this group has continued to be able to build their businesses on, so that they have happy, successful lives, and they're not just tied to the business.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
That was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. It was.
Yeah.
That was a really good one.
Yeah.